Please be upstanding for His Worship the Mayor of the London Borough of Hounslow, Councillor Sidhu, accompanied by the Deputy Mayor and the Chief Executive.
Please be seated. Good evening, everyone, and I welcome you to the meeting today. Welcome to members, officers, public, and people watching from home, and special guests from Ghana. I request, Kenya, and I request, please, everyone, to put the phones off or on silent. I remind the members that you're not allowed to tweet, only public can tweet. We all, I think, have agendas on your emails as we are paperless now. Debate to be done through Mayor, the chair, and without any interruptions, please. The point of orders can only be about the breach of constitution or law. And finally, please do not on your microphone as the cameras move, and only on when you're allowed, when you're speaking, when you're debating, and put the microphone off once you've finished. And again, thank you. We will now move into first agenda item. Apologies for absence. I have 3: Councillor Ajmer Garewal, Councillor Preetam Garewal, Councillor Aksa Ahmed, and 2 for lateness, Councillor Don Boring and Bandana Chopra. Anyone else? Yes, thank you. Councillor John.
Another form for lateness is Councillor Barth, and I have others apologies, which is Councillor Mann, Councillor Siddiqui.
Thank you, Councillor Strupp. Councillor Peter, please, Thompson.
Could I also add Councillor Giles to the absent for tonight? Thank you.
So one more for lateness as well, Councillor Chowdhury. Unser Chowdhury.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, announcement. I have announcement to make. Let's welcome Councillor Guy Lambert, who are with us today after a brief illness. He's in good health now, and we welcome you back, Councillor Lambert. Any declarations of interest for today's agenda? Thank you, Councillor Stroud.
We have some announcements as well, Mayor.
Let me do mine first. Again, I would also like to formally welcome a small group of special guests who are attending this meeting as observers. They are delegation of members of parliament from Kenya, and I request Councillor Shantanu Rajvat and Councillor Mashisho who facilitate this event today. I thank you. And Councillor, you want to say something, Rajvat?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes, it's great to spend some time with a delegation of Kenyan MPs and their staff who visited us. Thank you, Councillor Shisho, for the introduction. There's a nice mix in the group here, some new MPs, some well-established, and we had a really fruitful conversation around some of the work that the borough is doing and some of the work that they're hoping to do and some of the ties that we can have from that. So a very warm welcome to you. We hope you enjoy this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rajwat. And finally, I would formally be inviting you all on Friday, 9th of December, 7 p.m. in for official council photographs. And invitation is already sent to you via email. So I wish you all come and have lovely Christmas evening with me. Agenda item 3, minutes. Sorry. Sorry, I'm not rushing through for football. Any other announcements? Councillor Rajwat.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I've got two announcements to make, and I'm going to start with a sad one. And this is a sad announcement for the borough, but also one that I know is quite personal to Councillor Sampson as Ward Councillor for Isleworth, as Rhys Newcombe, who was fatally stabbed in the early hours of Saturday morning in Richmond, was known to us as a regular trainer alongside his father, John Holland, and family friend, Alan Bamford, in the boxing gym on the Ivy Bridge estate. Rhys is a third-generation boxing trainer and followed in the footsteps of his father, John, and grandfather, Harry Holland, who was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame in 2019. Harry Holland's career started in boxing in the 1960s, and he opened the doors of his own boxing camp in the borough at Hogarth Youth Club in Chiswick over the next decade. His son, John, is the owner of the Westside Gym in Hounslow and its sister club in Isleworth Ward on the Ivy Bridge estate, as I said. Following the fatal stabbing on Ivy Bridge in 2016, John was pivotal in developing the boxing gym on the estate alongside Councillor Sampson, and at the request of the young people that lived there, Rhys assisted his father, John, with training sessions on both Ivy Bridge and at Westside Boxing Gym in Hounslow. The family have dedicated years working with the borough's youth, keeping them off the streets and giving them purpose and an outlet through the discipline of boxing. Their mentoring teaches kids to stay away from street crime, offering an alternative pathway through fitness and sport. And that is the tragedy of what happened to Rhys in the early hours of Saturday morning. The Holland family always encourage young people in Hounslow to embrace the positivity of sport and fitness and to walk away from the kind of incident that led to Rhys losing his life following an innocent night out with friends. Mr. Mayor, my condolences and that of the councils go to all of Rhys's family and friends for their loss at this very sad time. Mr. Mayor, my second announcement is that we feel really proud to wear the white ribbon this evening, and I think everyone in the chamber is. It's great to see. To wear this ribbon is a symbol of my personal pledge and our pledge to support the elimination of violence and abuse against women and girls. Through my support, I hope to encourage men and boys across our borough, including my 6-year-old son, to pledge their support to and to end violence, because only together can we all make a difference. We need to challenge misogynist language as well as unacceptable attitudes and behaviours by men. We need to change the way we treat women and girls. That is why we need men and boys to be part of this effort. We need to encourage men and boys in our communities to become allies, to speak out and to get involved so that we can help create a future in which women and girls feel safe in their communities. From the 25th of November to December the 10th each year, we raise awareness of the White Ribbon and 16 Days of Activism. Both campaigns address the impact of violence and abuse on women and girls. This year, in order to raise awareness across the borough, a pop-up event was launched in partnership with local voluntary and community groups and partners to raise awareness around gender-based violence on the 25th of November. Myself, Marcus Gale, the former Brentford player and club ambassador, as well as Mr. Mayor, signed our names in support of the White Ribbon campaign, and I've got them behind me please, councillors and those in the audience, please do sign them before you leave this evening. Hounslow Council's Learning to Respect team also ran a poster campaign and competition in schools across Hounslow last Friday. Children were asked to put together a poster showcasing their learning and understanding of the Learning to Respect programme and healthy relationships. The winning entry was announced at a pop-up event at Hounslow House, and it was someone from year 2. I was on the judging panel, and it was a real pleasure to see the words that came out of that. It was really touching to see someone of that young age really understand about healthy relationships. We also created a social media campaign to raise awareness of our work, and Hounslow House was also lit up purple on the 25th of November. To consolidate the work we will be doing, the Violence Against Women and Girls plan will be launched at the next Cabinet in December. This plan marks an ambitious step for Hounslow in its work to tackle and prevent violence and abuse from the ground up across the borough. We will fulfil our promise to foster a culture of respect for women and girls. We must set a good example to never condone, commit, or remain silent about violence and abuse against women and girls. And I'm really pleased as leader of the council to support this campaign. At the end of the meeting, Mr. Mayor, I think Comms would like to take a photo of all councillors wearing their ribbons as well. If that's okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rajput. Agenda item 3, minutes from the last meeting held on 20th of September 2022. I have been advised that the written text of a tribute to Her Late Majesty Queen, which was made at the meeting by Councillor Borough, has been provided in inclusion, along with others in the appendix to the minutes. Therefore, I asked for this to be included alongside those already included there. Are members happy? And also for any further speeches which might be provided being added to the appendix to the minutes. Agreed? Thank you. Any matter arising from the minutes? Thank you. Agenda item 4 now. So we now move to second part of the process. Any petition? We have petitioner Mrs. Brar. Mrs. Brar from Mornington Crescent. Thank you, Mrs. Brar.
Actually, I'm the organizer, Mrs. Kamal Bra of Mornington Crescent, of the petition of this case. And I strongly ask you to replace the payment with the good material, cement under the slabs, weed-free, because on the pavement, weeds grown out of control, big gaps between slabs, cracks, uneven, so much wear and tear behind the repair, or take it out the weed by council. Even I made a 6th request by council this year, like fix my stage. They didn't turn up until September. That's all about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Brar. Councillor Lambert. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear this very well, but I presume it's the pavement in Mornington Crescent
Yeah.
that we're talking about. Well, all of there are two things that we'll do with pavements. One is the Hounslow Highways will inspect it for any problems that meet the criteria that we've agreed with the Department of Transport and them. That probably is not what you want, although it will deal with the immediately bad things. The wider issue with pavements will be put forward into the pavement pledge that we put into this pledge for this administration. We've said we'll spend £2 million over the 4 years in improving pavements that don't meet the criteria for replacement, but are a problem for residents, just as we did with potholes in the last administration. So the way that process will run will be announced in the early part of next year, and we'll start actually fixing pavements from April onwards over a 3-year period. So I will personally come and have a look at Morning Crescent. And it's a bit difficult for me to get around at the moment because although I'm recovered from my illness, I'm not completely covered. I will come and have a look at it, and we'll make sure that it's given proper consideration when we work out where we're going to spend our 2 million, because 2 million will not go to deal with every pavement in the borough. So I'll certainly give yours a good look, and yours will go into the discussion. Okay, thanks.
Okay. But the weed is the biggest problem, even the people don't do anything, on the payment, they don't take it out. Even the council, they don't take it out properly, so if they turn up, even with so many requests, so this is a problem, so.
Thank you, Mrs. Brar. Thank you, Councillor Lambert. As Councillor Lambert said, he will come and visit Mornington Crescent.
Okay.
Then we can try to, Mr. Lambert will sort it out. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
petitions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I have got a petition.
Thank you, Mr. Malik.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to present a petition on behalf of Ringway Estate in Heston West Ward, which I, Councillor Adriana, a leader of the council, represent. Over 100 residents have signed a petition requesting council to install CCTV cameras in the area due to increased crime activities. Some of the residents' vehicles have been stolen with tools inside since October 22, unable to work. According to them, the response from the police has been unsatisfactory. I've got a petition here which I'd like to bring over.
Please, Mr. Malik, if you can bring the petition. Thank you, everyone. Anybody else? Any petitions? No, thank you. Shall we move to agenda item 5? This is to reference with the cabinet meeting held on 15th of November 2022, update the terms of reference to Northwest London Joint Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I invite Councillor Rajwar to propose the report, and we should moved, second, and agreed. Thank you.
You won't find me complaining, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a reference back from Cabinet. Members will be aware the Joint Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee is comprised of 9 councils across Northwest London. The JOSC scrutinises plans, decisions and performance of the NHS in Northwest London. And this report reflects the fact that legislative changes introduced by the Health and Care Act 2022 meant that the committee needed to update their terms of reference. And as a result, we also then need to incorporate that into our constitution. That has gone through due process at the JOSC, and this is the formal process to do so in this council. So I move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Rajwat. Seconded, please.
Second.
Councillor Dunn.
Yes, excuse me, I second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Stroud.
Can I move that we agree the recommendations of the report, the terms and residents of the North West London Joint Health Review and Scrutiny Committee, please?
I'll second that.
Agreed. Thank you. So passed. Moving very smoothly. Agenda item 6. Any appointments which is standing item on our agenda, members will see the 3 proposed appointments included in the agenda. So all them. Councillor Stroud.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, there's an additional one, and that is that Councillor Catherine Dunn be appointed to the board of Brentford Dock Limited to take effect at the next meeting of that board.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud. So noted. Thank you. Agenda item 7, decision taken under urgency arrangements. None. Thank you. Agenda item 8, motions. So we have 3 motions this evening today, and we have 30 minutes to discuss each. Councillor Rajworth and Councillor Thompson agreed to. Sorry, it's 30 minutes for all of them. Sorry, Warren. So because we are going so fast, I thought let's put some speed breakers there. Councillor Rajworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could just see Councillor Elmsley's face dropping when you said 30 minutes per motion. Delighted to move this in a rare move, both parties of this council coming together on something that is actually quite important. So I will say a few words to this. Sorry, Councillor Elmsley. As councillors, we're absolutely passionate about representing our communities, whatever their views, and ensuring that everyone has an opportunity to have their voice heard. It is, though, incredibly sad that people sometimes feel the need to turn to threatening words and even actions to make their points. I think most people will be shocked to know, that 7 in 10 councillors nationally say they have experienced abuse and intimidation in the last year. We also know that council officers sometimes receive abuse just for carrying out their duties. Often hiding behind social media accounts and stirring up trouble through lies and intimidation, people who spread hate have no place in our society. We believe passionately in protecting freedom of speech, but that does not mean allowing people to threaten or intimidate elected members. Across the chamber tonight, I'm proud that we are standing together in solidarity to support the LGA's Debate Not Hate campaign, and I formally move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Rajworth. Can I request Councillor Thompson to second this?
Thank you. I suppose, in a sense, nasty, personal, hateful language is not a new thing in politics, but it does now seem to be almost like a default feature. I think having had 4 years off and coming back to it, it does seem to be that the country, for all sorts of reasons we could discuss at length, is more, I think, prone to this sort of conflict language that is not helpful. And I think it's having a corrosive effect on our public life. As you said, Councillor, in part, I think it is down to social media, where people can sit all around the world, sometimes sit in the same room as us, and they feel free to say things online that they would never say to our face. I think in an age when, for all sorts of reasons, probably down to technology, when people have shorter attention spans than they used to, and they don't want to delve into the arguments, again, the media sometimes always seems to play up conflict and division. There's no middle ground anymore. We can't agree or disagree with people with respect. We just end up calling them names and spreading that vitriol. As Councillor said, and it's a horrible, horrible figure, that 7 in 10 of us have received abuse. And many of those have received it multiple times. And many of them, half of those who received it, receive it on multiple occasions on an ongoing basis. So there seems to be that expectation that those of us in the public realm have to get used to it, and we have to sort of put up with this. Well, that's not going to be the case. And I think one reason why we're supporting the LGA is they're very correct when they say that if this continues, it is going to put people off getting involved in the political process, and that's not good for anyone. So for the sake of democracy, we do need to see a change. We don't want to have this sort of polarized society that perhaps we sometimes see reflected over in the States. We have to be a welcoming place where we can disagree with each other well, in a welcoming sort of way. Debating and disagreeing is what we do often as councillors, but abuse has no place in politics. We, as I said, in particular as councillors, I think we ourselves do need to make sure that we are debating calmly on things like social media and that we are leading by example. So just to make it real, we had an area forum meeting last week. Okay, we just about survived, didn't we, Councillor Dunn? We got through that. But whilst that meeting was going on, and I'm sure on both sides, I said this at the meeting, so it's nothing new if you were there were very hurtful and negative comments being thrown around. I've only seen one side, the things that people forwarded to me. But a person sits in that room and calls other members of our community, well, words I'm not going to say out loud, because I was always brought up by my mom not to use rude words. But again, one thing I can say, this particular individual called another resident in that meeting nasty, child-hating, anti-cycling skid mart of Chiswick, who lives in a recently created LTM, which wasn't true, enjoying the removal of rat-running drivers from her street. We can't legislate for what nasty people say about other members of the public. But I was quite disappointed that several members of this council have not, I'll say very clear, not to that particular tweet, but they have given the thumbs up and the like to this person. I think people who say that sort of thing, who criticize people in the audience for being geriatric and old, I think they have no place in the public realm, and it falls on us never to be giving the thumbs up to any comments they make. I think there is a time and a place to cancel some of those views which aren't logically made. They are hurtful and nasty and harmful. So I'm delighted that we are coming together. I say we don't want this toxic culture to seep into what we do at Hounslow. I think Twitter and Facebook, they have a place, but I think often people need to think before they press that button. We don't want this culture to stay, and we need to be working together calmly. We can disagree, I'm sure we will do in a moment with the other motions, but we need to calmly disagree and make sure that we as councillors call out those who seek to divide our community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Dunn.
We absolutely need to call out that sort of thing, and I'm disappointed by Councillor Thompson. You were at that meeting. You cannot say and that you didn't see abuse from the other side. Right. Okay. So you know that it took place. Okay. I know that you're talking about a tweet that I made. I did not give the I did not give the thumbs up. I know.
Can we have a meeting, please? Like, Councillor Dunn.
We all received an abusive email by an organisation that calls itself One Chiswick earlier in this week. Everyone in this, all the councillors in this room received it. I have received some support from people in this room. I haven't received any support from anyone on those opposition benches. When a person a couple of years ago posted that they wanted to shoot some councillors, none of us received any words of wishes from any of the councillors on the opposition benches. Some of them even opined that they didn't think it was serious. Now, I don't think that person had a gun, and I don't think that person was intending to come and shoot myself and Councillor Lambert. and then Councillor Hanif Khan. But the sentiment in that tweet was horrible, or that comment on Facebook, or wherever it was horrible. And it was followed up, having asked where he could get our addresses, it was followed up by someone who explained to him exactly where he could get our addresses. And whether we believe that person was coming to shoot us or not, that was a very disconcerting and horrible thing to have to go through. And I think we all need to do better about calling that sort of thing out. So I know that some tweets were sent that were not complimentary and that said things they shouldn't. I hope you weren't implying I gave the thumbs up to them. Okay, thank you. I think we all need to do better. We all need to call out that kind of abusive behaviour when it happens. If people are invited to a meeting to answer questions and to explain things, then I do think that the chair of that meeting needs to tell people that they can't call officers of this council an idiot, can't sit on the front row of that meeting yelling at cabinet members and at officers to resign. Because it's all on this continuum and this spectrum that we're talking about. It's not what I wanted to say tonight, but it's where we've ended up. So I hope that we can all take this moment to move on, do better, and I include myself in that.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Councillor Stroud.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Dunn. I was going to make a point that it was marvellous to see that this is a cross-party and all members are supporting this. And it goes across the chamber. And what I was going to say is, however, that behaviour is not just about what happens in this chamber. It's what happens across the council in all the forums. And I wasn't going to call out the Chiswick Forum because I thought it would have been underhand, but Councillor Thompson decided he wanted to do that, and Councillor Dunn has very rightly responded to it. But as members, we have an we don't have an obligation, we have a duty to call out this sort of behaviour, whether it's angry rhetoric, whether it's finger pointing, or whether it's name calling. And we also have a duty that when that behaviour happens, we stop it. We call it out for what it is. And I will come back on it, Councillor Thompson. That didn't happen at that forum. It wasn't called out. And if it's not called out, the behaviour that you turn a blind eye to, the behaviour that you ignore, is the behaviour that you accept. And this council does not accept that sort of behaviour in any forum, whether it's a council meeting, a committee meeting, or a forum meeting, or even a small meeting between members. We do not do it. Furthermore, we do not play to it. We do not stoke that behaviour, even if it's just a subtle comment that you know is going to fire people up in the audience. And you do that for cheap political gain. And you do that cheap political gain at the expense of other members, and it has the effect, as we've just seen, on Councillor Dunn. But worse than that, at least as councillors, we have a right of reply. Our hard-working and dedicated officers do not enjoy that privilege. They do not have that public right of reply. So when you turn a blind eye to them being publicly insulted, they sit there and they take it and they say nothing. That is utterly, utterly, utterly unacceptable in Hounslow Council. And I hope everybody will reflect on their behaviour in future meetings. And I hope everybody will vote for this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud. Councillor Biddulph, please.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I agree with many of the points that have been said, and particularly Councillor Thompson. I'm appalled at what has happened in our group today. There are 2 points, however, that need greater emphasis. While not in any way wanting to put councillors first and above our residents, and especially not residents who are currently struggling with hate, including homophobic attack, the point about councillors' well-being isn't even a numbered part of the resolutions we are being asked to agree with. Why isn't it point 4? Why is it what appears to be an add-on sentence shoved in at the last minute? It was at the council's reorientation meeting for councillors on the 13th of September 2021 last year that I first raised this issue. I listened to the explanations of the council's approach to workplace working and its emphasis on the well-being of officers after the pandemic. I said that while I agree that officers' well-being is fundamentally important, the council should also look at its duty of care to councillors and their well-being. I spoke out as I'd had 4 years' experience of what seemed to be a lack of duty of care. There was no response, not a nod, not any form of acknowledgement. There wasn't any follow-up either. After the election, I raised the duty of care of councillors in a training meeting at which the head of HR was present. He came up to me afterwards and agreed that it needed to be looked at. Sometime later, he came up to me again and said he hadn't forgotten. I appreciated that. At least one officer and a relevant officer had it on their agenda. Then on 26th of July this year, immediately on receiving the email from the LGA, sending us its findings and recommendations, I sent it to the head of HR. I might not have been the only councillor to do that. Nevertheless, I did do it. It was appreciated. So now what do we have? A motion. It shouldn't take over a year for an issue to be looked at, and then only because the LGA has raised it, and then only as a motion, and then only as if it were an afterthought. I don't know what it's like to be a councillor in the ruling party, and very few in the ruling party know what it's like to be an opposition councillor. I wonder if there is an added difference because I'm a female opposition councillor. Certainly there are misogynistic elements to what I have experienced. Even if it is because I have been categorised as a bloody difficult woman, or just bloody difficult, some of the behaviour meted out, not just by residents, but also by councillors, goes well beyond unacceptable. As Councillor Thompson said, almost everyone is guilty of something. To the person, as he said, who sees in their notifications a like of a neutral post, it appears to be an endorsement of the bullying, demeaning, gaslighting, misogynistic posts that have gone before and will surely follow. I'm not going to go personal, but I have been gaslit by a cabinet member when that cabinet member was in the cabinet in the previous term, setting an example from which others might take a lead. I've been trolled by other cabinet members in the previous cabinet and currently, and I have been mocked and belittled by a new councillor on the Labour side for cheap political gain, to use words that were used a moment ago. At what point, to pick up on the wording of the motion, do these actions become politically fueled abusive behaviour that should be publicly condemned? Further, how should it be publicly condemned? By whom should it be publicly condemned? There just isn't the meat on the bones here. I worry that the resolutions in this motion aren't clear and don't go far enough. Why aren't we setting up a local working group to produce and implement an action plan? Why aren't we discussing what should and shouldn't be publicly condemned, how and by whom, whether it is directed at us or at our residents or business ratepayers? In Graham's hierarchy of disagreement, which you might have seen, it's a very important document that we could all follow very usefully, name calling, which some of us are on the receiving end of repeatedly, is right at the bottom of the chart. In other words, it's the most despicable form of disagreement, debasing, bullying, belittling. Next is ad hominem, attacking characteristics. According to several Labour supporters whose tweets and posts are liked by cabinet members and councillors, the clothes I wear determine my suitability or otherwise as a councillor. This is mocking and perhaps misogynistic. Not everyone in this chamber hits high sartorial standards, female or male, though some new haircuts are very impressive. Mr. Mayor, it is one thing to have a motion on debate, not hate. It is quite another to have policies and processes to deal with hate. What are the next steps to be? When will they start? And will opposition councillors, including female opposition councillors and others with protected characteristics, be involved in formulating policy and process? Because without our active involvement, this could just be another emotion that sits in the council's archives. To return to my first point, this is not the focus of our attention. This is not to put the focus of our attention on us rather than on our residents. Progress there, particularly in relation to dealing with homophobia, is even more embarrassingly slow. We must take this motion seriously, but it needs to go further.
Thank you, Councillor Bidoff. Councillor Vikram Garewal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must say I'm very proud of this council and borough for bringing this motion to borough council, and I agree with a lot of what's been said. John Stroud-Turp, our chief whip, really touched on an important point and a poignant one. You know, we have the privilege of both being, you know, the executive of this council as elected officials, but also be outward facing and being able to represent our council, and also giving it back to some people, even sometimes when you don't want to. But our officers don't have that privilege. It's our duty, and I'm not alone in this by saying that we have some of, if not the best officers in the country, and other local authorities will agree with this, and we have won awards that chime to that as well. So it's our right just to defend them, but also defend each other and defend the constituents that we represent, to make sure that hate and any form of discrimination in any walks of life, in any arenas, is simply not tolerated by any of us. And we have to be the examples of that. We sign up to the Nolan Principles as elected officials. Read them every single time. That will tell you. And I know there's so many fantastic examples in this room of individuals that adhere to those. Mr. Mayor, I'll say why this is a poignant time to bring up this hate crime debate, because hate crime in this country, I'll just tell you, by the year ending March 2022, there were 155,841 hate crimes that were reported in the United Kingdom. That is a second highest increase in the past decade, and a 26 increase compared to the last year alone. You know, as many of you know, I'm an avid football fan. I watched the Euros final. I saw when black players missed those penalties, the racial abuse that came out straight away. And I speak to some professional footballers, to some clubs, and I felt for the black English players that are playing as we speak right now. And God forbid, if they have to kick a potential winning penalty during the World Cup, would it be in the back of their mind, if I miss this, what type of racial abuse will I get and other black people in this country? That is simply not acceptable in 2022 in the United Kingdom to be having that anymore. We have many forums across social media platforms, you know, Brentford TV, it says debate, not hate. We need to make sure that our contributions and people that we speak to on those forums and on Twitter and other areas, that we encourage that positive behavior. I have a 2-month-old daughter. I want her to grow up in a world where her race, color, caste, creed, her political beliefs, all these things that will make her not be against her in life. And I'm not just saying that as a proud parent standing in front of you today, but just for all my colleagues in this room as well. So I ask you, friends, please let this be a watershed moment, that once we go out of this meeting, we actually adhere to the motion that we've put forward, and become better people. And Joanna, yes, you can be difficult. Yes, you can be many things that you said, but I think you're a bloody brilliant person, and I'm not the only one. So please, let's just adhere to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gariwal. Councillor Mishisho.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, everybody. This is a very important contribution debate. From so far, we've heard from Councillor Dunn, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Rajawat, and others, Councillor Gurwal. Now, I became the chair of the Chiswick Area Forum because I wanted to forge new relationships between the two sides. I hate the division that the recent activities or recent schemes have brought around Chiswick and around London in general. But my duty as chair is to protect those who are invited to speak and also to protect officers. So I want to take this opportunity to firstly thank Councillor Catherine Dunn, because at the very last minute, I sent her a request to attend, and to her credit, she did that. And we spoke after the meeting, and obviously emailed each other since, and I wanted to extend that relationship, because this is not about division. We weren't elected to come here and divide the community. We were elected to unite the community. And that's what my role is as chair of Chiswick Area Forum. So I want to take this opportunity. If she felt singled out or abused, and I did hear a lot of words, especially from the front bench, as she indicated, and I did call it out. Now, some members in this room perhaps didn't hear that, But you know what? It is on record. It is filmed. And you will see that throughout that meeting, I was calling out constant attacks that were coming on both sides to the panel, from both sides. It wasn't just one side, it was both sides. But my second point is this. We have members in this chamber who block other members, who antagonize other members. We are supposed to be representing the whole borough. So if you really are a man or woman of your word, let's work together. Let's agree amicably. Let's disagree amicably. Now, I know various members across this whole chamber that I disagree with all the time, but it's amicable. It's always been amicable. And that's what we need to set as an example. It's not good coming over here now and saying we should be doing this, where you're the very same person who is blocking your colleagues as councillors. So my aim is, just like as your aim is when you were elected, is to have a fairer borough, to have a better borough, to have a stronger borough. But in order to do that, we need to be together. So I want to finish off by going back to Councillor Dunn, because I do want to forge that better relationship. She has an important brief that affects a lot of people across the borough. And it's better for her that she has someone on the other side that she can talk to candidly and amicably. And I want to be that person. I am chair this year, and it might be a different chair next year, but I want that relationship, that legacy to continue so that we can work things out together. Councillor Rajarat and I, we welcomed our Kenyan delegates together. You did all the donkey work, but we worked together. Yes, and I want to give you credit for that. And that's what we should be doing as councillors. We shouldn't be tearing each other apart. We should be uniting together to be a better borough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mshisho. Councillor Croft.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make this fairly short, so don't worry. I wholeheartedly support the motion from the leader and the leader of the opposition. The LGA Debate Not Hate campaign, as we all know, stems from some really tragic circumstances. And it's vital that we protect members, we protect officers, but also, and possibly most importantly, we protect our residents. And from abuse, as we've witnessed the potentially devastating consequences that can arise when tensions flare. And that's something that we also witnessed as I was also at the Chiswick Area Forum. The LGA have highlighted, as the leader of the opposition and other members have said, the huge rise in the increased normalisation of abuse, particularly online. And as members, I believe that we have a key role to play in reversing that trend. Now, if I can refer to the Code of Conduct, which all of us signed up to and becoming councillors, amongst other things, we've all signed up to treat all persons fairly and with respect, and to lead by example, which several of our colleagues have said, and to act in a way that secures public confidence in the role of a councillor. We need to lead by that example on this issue and call out abuse wherever we see it, either online or personally, regardless of who it is delivered by and who it is delivered to. We must treat all people fairly and with respect all times, regardless of political divide or difference of opinion. It's important that we do so, not just for members, not just for officers' safety, but also for the safety of residents who do not have the shield of public office to hide behind. I've seen fairly vile abuse given to residents after the Chiswick Area Forum, not by members, but by other residents. And this is really toxic behaviour that we have to protect our residents from. And they often face similar abuse for supporting either a contentious cause or a point of view. Therefore, I fully support the motion to endorse the campaign and publicly condemn politically fuelled abusive behaviour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Croft. Councillor Mohammed Amir, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the leader, both leaders of our party and the opposition, and my comrades have rightly summed up, I think debating and disagreements are fundamental part of I think, any healthy democracy. And this shall always be done with the utmost respect. And this includes the respect for all elected representatives, regardless of their political affiliation, their backgrounds, or any other affiliations that they may have. And they should be able to do this without any fear or without feeling hostile. And we should all have the right to feel safe, whether this is during our surgeries, sharing meetings, or campaigning, even, as some great examples have already been given. As the evidence suggested in the research by the local government association, that 7 in 10 councillors experienced abuse in the last 12 months. Though it is our duty to serve the community, this shall be done without any fear of being abused. I can personally confirm that people can become hostile to opposing ideologies, and that is definitely an issue. If left to continue, this negative and unacceptable behavior can prevent elected members from representing their communities and which communities which they actually serve, and any potential new members from standing in future elections. Therefore, I totally endorse the local government association's debate, not hate campaign, and any action plans which they address, obviously for safety of all elected members and candidates, in order for them to perform their duties, their democratic duties. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mayor. Councillor Tony Luki.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody else. I will support this motion, but I'm a little concerned about having attended that meeting and watched the meeting at Chiswick Area Forum last week. I was quite disappointed with the way it was chaired, and I am disappointed with the chair of that committee starting the applause, commencing the applause for when after Councillor Dunn spoke, and proposing that he will lead a friendship campaign with the majority party. I think we saw that at the last meeting where the councillor did apologise for some behaviour previously. I will accept his apology. I would understand it. I don't know about accepting his apology tonight, but I understand that, and I'll be watching this, and as would other people be watching this, I hope that he doesn't backtrack on this, because from what I saw the other night down at Chiswick Town Hall, it wasn't friendly. It did almost give members of the audience latitude. And what I saw on Saturday when I went to the butcher's down at Kew Bridge, yeah, I'm not going to box him, Councillor Emsley. And what I saw at the butcher's the other day and what I heard tonight, Conservative Association leaflets going out, politicising the Chiswick Area Forum, when other area forums were any publicity for those other area forums went out centrally and from the council, and also when the chair of the...
Can we conclude, because I think we're running out of time.
I will conclude. One moment. When what I saw at the area forum there was the chair politicising their group assistant, asking everybody, and we can see this on the video if you want to, asking anybody...
Can we conclude, please?
I will conclude briefly. When I saw when the chair of the area forum was referring the audience, asking the audience to hand over any questions to the Conservative group assistant, when this is instead, when there were plenty of community development officers there to receive leaflets. I will end there, Chief Executive. Chair. Thank you very much.
Councillor Rajwat, can you?
Can I move the question now be put, Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Okay. So we have to be put on vote. All agreed? Unanimous? All, thank you. We are out of time.
Mr. Mayor, can I propose an amendment to standing orders to extend the time of motions, please?
The time is... I think we have to move on.
Agenda item 11, any matters that the mayor consider urgent? None. And next meeting will be on 31st of January 2023. So have a lovely Christmas, Happy New Year, and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Can we not do motions in AOB?
Members, can you stick around for a photograph, please? Members, stick around for a photograph.